Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Goalink Show. My name is Ben. I am the founder of Goalink, a goal-setting community providing growth junkies, aka you, with weekly challenges to avoid complacency. These challenges are inspired by brands to bring you new ways to develop and improve yourself. You can kick back and watch me take on these exciting and uncomfortable challenges, or you can join me. I challenge every single listener to complete these weekly goals. Catch the content on Instagram or Facebook at Goalink Group. The Goalink Show, this podcast recounts experiences from the achievers of the world, but not just the success. We delve into the challenges and the struggle that we all face. How do we find the will to push through? What role do motivation, discipline, and failure play in our lives? Let's talk about the process and not just the result. We discuss this and much more on the show. Thanks for tuning in. This week, we have a new friend on the show. His name is Philip. He is from Texas, and this is my first interview in Greenville, South Carolina. So he came out here for a job just like me to try somewhere new. And he's the host of the Healthy Living Sessions podcast, so make sure you check that out. But we discuss his upbringing, living in a small farm or a small farm town and helping his dad in the barn, how he got disciplined more than others as a kid just because he would listen, which was interesting. Just because he would listen and obey, he got disciplined more. How encouraging and pushing others to take action, how he's doing this and how he loves to stand up for others, encouraging and pushing them, and how he has healed himself and what he's learned from being bullied as a kid, how the search for his life partner has fueled his own growth, the importance of common values in a romantic relationship, and no joke, how and why he advises to fart. Yes, fart in a relationship. This took me by surprise, but get ready. And why we need to impress ourselves and not others. So, get ready for this interview with Philip. Let's get into it. All right, Philip, you ready to rock and roll, dude?
I am.
All right, man. So, everyone, welcome to the Goalink Show. My name is Ben. This is cool. We got the first interview of Greenville. So, dude, thanks for being the first interview of my new residence.
Man, I'm really excited. You, I'm fairly new to the area too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So we connected. I reached out to him on Instagram after a networking event, GVL Hustle. That's in Greenville, South Carolina. The following Saturday, we met up for some crepes, real manly. And at my first impression, just a super smiley, good dude, like great energy. Like as soon as I met him, and you can't see him right now, but the dude is thick. As in like good way, like muscly. You know.
Yes. I do enjoy the gym from time to time, maybe 6-7 days a week.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. So you mentioned that you're fairly new to Greenville. So how did you get here?
So I moved here a little over 3 years ago, and it was because I had lost my job in the oil and gas industry.
And that was in Houston?
In Houston, yeah. Okay. From Houston, Texas to Greenville, South Carolina. And so I was without a job for about 3 months. And then I had interviewed with a company there in Houston. They decided to go with somebody who had a little bit more experience than me. But they said they really liked me, and so they want to bounce my resume around. And they bounced around to several other locations they had. And they had one in Greenville, really out in Seneca, about an hour away, near Clemson University. And I interviewed, said, why not? You know, I was 24 and said, I got my whole life ahead of me. Let's try it out. And I can always come back to Texas if I don't like it.
And that's kind of, I mean, not exactly, but that was my same thought. Like, if I don't like it, I can just go back. Let's try somewhere new. So how have you liked it so far?
I have loved it. For anybody that knows Texas, you're Texan first and then American, you know, so
that's true. That's
that's just how it is. So I'll always be a Texas boy through and through, but I love it here. It is so amazing. It's not flat. It's not hot. Houston is very humid. When I got here, it's so funny. Everybody's like, oh man, you're from Texas. It's dry out there. Just wait. The summers are so humid. I waited and waited. And it never got humid. Then I had moved to Statesboro, Georgia for about a year, and that's southern Georgia near Savannah. And when I went down there for an interview in July, I was like, this is Houston. This is humid. And so it's been really interesting. But I moved back here as quick as I could to South Carolina, just because I really missed it. And I love the hills and the mountains being very close by. And then, of course, the beach isn't too far either. So it's nice. Everything's so close. And that was a big thing for me, that everybody I worked with was like, oh, yeah, going to Georgia this weekend or North Carolina or Tennessee. And I'm like,
Everywhere so
wait,
close.
You're going out of state for a 2-day weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's ridiculous. And then I realized, oh, it's only an hour away.
Because you're from Texas, which is basically another country away.
Yeah. Texas, it's a 15-hour drive east to west and a 18-hour drive north to south.
Dude, that's wild. I didn't know that stat. That's crazy.
Yeah. So when I talk about going out of state, it's like you're spending at least 4 or 5 hours, even if you're close to the one border, to go out of state. So it's like you're going to spend all that time just to go for a 2-day weekend. It's been a big transition for sure.
What's one misconception about Texas?
That we all are ranchers, wear cowboy boots and 10-gallon hats, or a cowboy hat, whatever, just a big hat. That is not true. There's not tumbleweed tumbling around everywhere either.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely those places.
Oh yeah,
But,
West
I mean,
Texas for sure.
But of course you have Houston, Dallas, and other big places like cities, that are huge.
Yeah,
right?
San Antonio, and then you got Austin, which
Austin's
they like to keep it weird.
Yeah,
they're proud of it, and they're the complete opposite of Texas.
What's one true, I guess, perception about Texas? Like when people tell you something like, "Oh, you're from Texas, you must blank," and what's a true thing?
Everything's bigger in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas. The houses, the people, the food. I mean, you name it, it's bigger.
And America's already huge in general as far as like our portions of food, for example. But you say in Texas it's bigger.
Yeah, like they've got all sorts of things. One thing I think off the top of my head is they have. Near San Antonio, they have a 12-pound cinnamon bun. A 12-pound cinnamon bun. And then they have I want to say it's a 70-inch pizza as well in the San Antonio area. Those are just two,
dude.
big foods.
12 pounds?
Yeah.
A cinnamon roll. I mean, I love cinnamon rolls, but that's a lot of weight. All right, so let's jump into fitness because I commented your physique earlier. So how did you get into fitness? Were you always into fitness? How were you growing up? Were you a fit kid, a chubby kid? What was it like?
So I don't really remember this. My mom always said that I always kind of had muscles growing up. Never really thought I was that big. Always thought I was one of the smaller guys. I remember the first time really that people thought I had started working out, which I didn't, was when I grew 4 inches and gained 40 pounds over the summer between 8th grade and freshman year.
Woo.
I just finally hit my growth spurt. That's all it was. But I was like, dude, you hit the gym, you take steroids? And I couldn't have been more than like 150. I don't know. And I went from 6th grade, I remember the girls that were like on the cheer team, they were taller than me and they weighed more than me. As a boy, like this is embarrassing. And then, grow up a little bit. And then my senior year, I'd started wanting to work out or starting to hit the gym and lift weights and everything. And so I didn't do it because I was doing cross country and track. And of course, you don't want to be really big and muscular, although I was way bigger than all these other guys when I was running. But, so I couldn't hit the weights then. But I said, once I got to college, I said, I'm going to start lifting weights because I want to get bigger, want to get in better shape. And of course, part of that was to get attraction from girls.
Yeah.
And it really didn't work out to get more attraction from girls.
Why not?
Maybe if I just wanted to get laid or something, that was about the only way. But to actually date a girl for to actually try and date her, it wasn't, because for some reason they got intimidated. They thought because I'm this guy in great shape who loves fitness and eating healthy, that as soon as we started dating, they were going to be on some fitness plan and meal plan.
Yeah.
And so I started getting more attraction from dudes, and it's more like dudes like, dang, how'd you get so big, man?
Yeah.
I mean, although I do get hit on by gay guys as well. So it kind of did the opposite effect that I expected when I first started out. But now,
funny.
I do it for myself. It's no longer for women.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's the most important thing is to do it for yourself, man. And you wake up at 4:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah, between 4 and 4:30 to go to the gym. Just depends on what muscle group I'm
4:30
working.
at the latest. So excuse me, 4 to 4:30.
Yeah. I mean, it just works out best with my schedule. I mean, I used to not be a morning person, but so many people want to do things in the evenings typically. Obviously, nobody wants to hang out before work. It's kind of weird.
Dude, we should start that. We should start like, yo, let's hang out in the morning.
I did do that with a friend the other day. We were usually get together like every other Tuesday, just kind of catch up and try and keep each other accountable. And the other morning we said, well, hey, let's meet at 7, before I go into work. So I got into work. Usually I get in a little early, but I got in like right at 8. So we didn't talk for too long, but I did meet before work. So that was interesting. But yeah, so usually I just go in the mornings just because it's easier for me because then I can get my thing done and then hanging out with family, friends, whatever it may be. Well, I say family, it's like church family, friends, fiance, stuff like that. I can do that in the evening because they're not going to want to get up at 4:30 to hang out for a couple hours before work. So
yeah, that's interesting though. We should try that. I don't know. I'll think about that later. What was like your upbringing like, just in general? Like, if you had to describe it, how were you raised?
So I was raised on a small piece of land. It was about 5 acres. Say small. There's a lot of people with a lot more land than that back in Texas. But my dad was a really hardworking guy. He had a landscaping company for a while, and then he went into what you call commercial bush hogging, which is basically a big tractor and a 15-foot cutter and cut fields. And so growing up, I'd always have to help him out with that, help him around the house, just do different chores. My dad was, grew up in Alabama, was a big farm boy, and so he was all about hard work. And so I learned a lot about hard work. I did play some sports and stuff like that, so I feel very fortunate for that. But for the most part, it was about I go to school, come home, and help my dad out at the house. Just change, go down the barn, and just get to work for a couple hours and go back to the house. Yeah.
And what part of Texas were you from?
A little town called Hockley or Waller. They're kind of real close to each other. I went to Waller High School, but Hockley is the city I grew up in, which is northwest of Houston, probably about an hour and a half outside of Houston, and hour and a half away from College Station, where Texas A&M is at. Kind of gives some.
So how many people are in that town?
Probably about in Waller, probably about 3,000. I'd probably say about 1,500 in Hockley.
Okay,
or
cool.
Maybe less.
So it was definitely a small town.
Yeah.
And you went to school, came back, and you were just got the hustle on in the barn, dude.
Yep.
Dude, that's like a classic. I just wanted to like, for sure. I mean, I have no idea what it's like to grow up and having to do that manual labor. So I assume that shaped you, but do you have any other experiences of like what shaped you into your mindset and your hard work ethic?
That definitely was the biggest factor for me. But I'd say it took me a while, but growing up, my mom was always like, don't get in fights, don't hit people and stuff like that. And it really turned me into a wimp, to be honest. I was always afraid of, conflict, any kind of confrontation. Guys would pick on me, and I just, sit there and let them do it. I just, because I felt really small, felt like I couldn't do anything, and I felt like I was going to get in trouble if I did do anything. So, kind of grew up as a wimp as well. I mean, yeah, a little tough because, I had to help my dad out down at the barn and got stronger because of that, but I also felt like a wimp because my mom says, don't do this. And then, of course, being boys, everybody's picking on you because you're not willing to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, so I want to unpack that. That's interesting. So, like, where I'm from, I guess that's more normal. Like, you just don't hit, and if you fight, then you're an idiot, and you get detention, And so, was that different? Like, did kids still get detention for getting in fights, or is it more after school, or when were did those things when did you get picked on, or other people get bullied?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of more like on the bus and stuff. So after school, and it was interesting with that because the bus driver, anytime, just for example, what I remember is I would stand up, way before, like if we were like down the street, I'd stand up getting ready to get off the bus, and she'd yell at me because I was standing up. But then there was a couple other kids on the bus that'd stand up, be super rowdy, be jumping from seat to seat and, messing with people, and she wouldn't say a single thing. And finally one day, I told my parents a couple times, and my dad, he's very upfront about things, and that's how I've gotten now. But he came out there and he's like, "What's going on? Why do you always get on to Philip and you don't get on these other kids? They're doing worse than him, yet you're getting on to them." And it was interesting because she said because she knew I would listen, and so it was really interesting that I was getting disciplined because she knew I'd listen.
Dude, that's interesting. So that might even go into what you mentioned about how you call yourself wimpy. I'm not sure if that's the right word or whatever, but how it's just the meaning. I know you listen to podcasts and everything, so you know that it's not essentially an Ed Milet, right? It's not the actual experience that happens to you, but it's what meaning you assign to it. And your mom told you to not hit and be nice, which that's a great thing to be. Like, be a nice person, don't fight people. But the meaning you took that as like, is to be like passive. Is that what that meant almost?
Yeah, looking back on it, I definitely say it was more being passive, just not aggressive at all. I can't even even say a passive aggressive. It's just not being aggressive at all. It's just about being passive, just letting things happen to you. And it was almost to the point like I felt like I couldn't do anything because I couldn't fight. I couldn't hit anybody. And if I did get mad at them, I did bring on any kind of aggression, I was going to get in trouble.
Did that carry over to other parts of your life as far as maybe your mental like fortitude, or to like fight for yourself, like fight for what you want as far as like your goals or passions?
When I was growing up, not so much. I would say now that really has played a key factor. And just going into that a little bit, because I knew I grew up as that scared kid, that wimpy kid, so to say, that kid that was too shy to do anything. Now that I have gained that courage to be outgoing, to talk to others, I tend to stand up for people.
That's cool.
And so I guess I'm thankful for that experience because I know that situation, and I can. Not all the time, but I can see it sometimes when people want something and they want to do something, but they're afraid to. And that's when I'll step in and say something. A good example is a guy that you just met recently as well, Hudson. He, we were at a GVL Hustle event like 2 months ago, and he was like really wanting to go over and talk to Tyler Harris, one of the guys that runs that thing. And, but we were standing next to each other talking, and then Tyler came up, and I started talking to Tyler and stuff. And then Tyler was just like, "All right, man, well, I got to go." And so Tyler leaves, and Hudson was like, "Well, I'll just talk to him another time." I said, "No, you wanted to talk to him, go over there and talk to him, man." He's like, "Nah, but he's busy." I'm like, "Dude, we're here to network. We're here to talk to people. Just go talk to him. It's going to be okay." And you know what? He went and talked to him.
That's awesome.
And it might have not been from that. I mean, I know there was other things that played into this, but now the dude has an internship with the guy that he's meeting with him once a week now. And I do believe part of me spurring him to go talk to him helped out with that. I mean, he did a lot of stuff on his own to make it happen, but I just wonder how much that played a role.
Well, that's cool. And he could have still not done it, right? Like, he still took the action to listen and go do it. Because there's a lot of people you say, do this or do that, or hey, I think that's a good idea, but he still took the action himself. So props to him for doing that. Yeah, that's cool. That's a good story. Thanks for sharing that. And what are some of your personal experiences? How did you get over that? Because I don't sense any sort of, some people who are maybe bullied might be angry now. I don't sense any anger from you at all. So how did you heal from that, or start to challenge yourself and grow beyond being nervous or scared and to be confident?
Well, it was the desire to want to change. And it's funny you say if I'm really happy now. I mean, I agree. Like I try and be positive, and that's something I have to try to do. It does come natural for the most part, but there are times where I don't want to be happy. Kind of grew up. My dad was very pessimistic. Love him to death, but he'd always kind of think of worst case scenarios sometimes, and that that bled into who I was, and so I used to also be very angry, very very short fused. I would blow up really quick once I got past the point of being shy and timid, and usually it was around my family more than anything. And I don't really regret it. I mean, it's just part of who I am. But I do hate when I am that way. But how I changed that was, as cliche as it is I simply wanted to change. And I knew if I wanted to find a soulmate, somebody that was, I could make happy, I had to be the best person I could be. I wanted it for me, but I also wanted to be somebody better for somebody else, because I knew if I didn't improve myself, if I didn't become better, I wasn't going to be good enough for the person I wanted.
Ooh, that's good, dude. So the future love and wife, like you did it like for yourself, of course, but you knew like the person that you wanted to be able to contribute and be a happy whole person to bring to that partnership.
Yeah. And this started from 18 years old. Once I got to college, it's like, I had been doing some changes before then, but college is really, 18 to 20, somewhere in there is when I really started figuring that out. And it took several relationships and like 7 years, before I finally found the one that I wanted to be with, and, now engaged. So it took a long time. It takes a while, but as long as you're trying to work on it, that's what really matters. People are going to notice that more than anything else, especially women. They really can sense somehow. It's like a sixth sense or seventh or whatever sense. Anyways, that who you really are. They can see the ulterior motive that you have when you're trying to talk to them. And again, who you are as a person, not the person you're presenting to them.
I like that. So for anyone who's listening, like a kid or person, even full-grown adult, or maybe even an elderly person who still feels like they feel silenced, or they feel like they can't speak up, or they feel scared for some whatever reason, what's one practical tool or step or challenge that you would give them so they can start today to get beyond that?
Figuring out what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're just going down a path and you have no idea where you're going. It's like getting in the car and just, heading down some back road that you have no idea where it goes. You're just kind of going, and you're saying you're going somewhere. Okay, well, where is it that you're going? So first you need to figure out exactly where you want to go, and then get started. It might be just things you think are going to take you in that direction, or, just kind of bring an example. If you have anger problems, like I used to just fly off the handle about anything. It could be like
your Chick-fil-A order getting wrong. You got 11 nuggets instead of 12.
Yeah, no, that would never happen. that would never happen at Chick-fil-A.
They have too much of a high standard.
Yeah. Plus, they're always right anyways. I really only wanted 11, not 12.
Oh, there you go.
But no, like, it'd be like inanimate objects, like my phone not being fast enough. I'd start getting angry. And, so just little things like that. But if you get angry like that, you need to decide, like, oh, I don't want to be angry anymore. Okay, well, how do you not be angry? Well, try and control that anger. Like, if something sets you off easily, stop doing that. stop being around the people maybe that give you that negative mindset. You know, there's little things you can do. Of course, there's plenty of podcasts you can listen to figure this out. But I mean, that's something you can start with now. But you have to figure out that goal you want to get to, what you want to either add or remove from your life, and then just get started on it and, you know, figure it out as you go, because making the game plan is great, but until you actually start taking action on that, it's not going to do anything for you.
Dude, I love that. So you mentioned, you know, it took quite a few relationships and years to find the person, you know, your life partner. So for me, I recently reflected on this about how each relationship I've found, like, the person I was with, I get closer to the person that I want to be with each time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I get it more and more right, and I learn more and more of what I don't want, if that makes sense. And of course, I learn more about myself every time. Do you have any, like, experiences or, like, lightning bolt moments of, like, oh, wow, like, that's why, like, I don't want to be with that person, or that's why I want to be with this type of person, or anything that you can remember about just a life lesson from a relationship that didn't work out? Because there's plenty of lessons and failures.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I would say not being willing to commit. I mean,
so that's on you. You aren't willing to commit.
I've talked. No, well, I mean, I've always, you know, kind of like, oh, I want to commit, but then what ends up happening is I let some little thing kind of get in the way, and thinking, oh, this one isn't the right one.
Dude, yep.
And then kind of just wasting both of our times and just kind of keeping talking to her because, you know, well, she's fun, you know, you know, fun to make out with her, whatever, you know, just having that person there. And rather than saying, look, it's not working out, you know, this is not what I'm looking for, and moving on. And, you know, I had to do a lot of self-reflection. I'd say the point where I finally started figuring myself out and figuring out exactly what I wanted. You always, you know, knew roughly what I wanted, but I kept dating girls and kind of finding the same girls. You know, it'd always be, you know, she'd be attractive, of course. You know, I mean, that's important. You know, it'd be fit, maybe. Not all of them were fit. You know, but we wouldn't have much in common. And one of the things would be like, you know, she'd say she's religious, but she really wasn't religious. And I'd always like kind of put it off, like, no, like, you know, I'll wait. I don't want to say like, this is what I believe. If you don't believe it, or, you know, you don't want to go to church with me even, like, then this isn't going to work out. Because a lot of times they'd be like, you know, they'd be religious, but they wouldn't go to church. Like, they wouldn't go to church on their own. It's like, it's one thing to not have gone with me because, like, you know, I'm not going to force somebody to go to church with me if they have their own church, you know, like, let's study the Bible and figure it out together. But it would just be like, oh, well, I'll hold off and wait until we build a relationship more, when I should have been building that relationship around church, because that was the most important thing to me overall.
Because that's your value.
Exactly. And so I didn't do that. And really where things started changing is, and I'm not remembering the book off the top of my head. It's basically a book for guys, like how to, not really like play girls per se or anything like that, but to be, it's basically is just saying to be more intentional, be upfront with who you are, and just tell them what you think. And I would say that with my fiance, that was the biggest thing with her and I. And I had, once I read that book, I probably dated one other girl before her, and, you know, just things didn't work out. We were both very strong in our own beliefs, and, you know, we were kind of stuck on that per se, and so it just didn't work out. But then with my fiance and I, you know, I was just more upfront with her, because the other one was like, yeah, you know, I want to go to church, and like, she went to her own church, but it was just kind of still skated around the issue. And I just told my fiance, I'm like, look, well, of course it was before she was my fiance, but, you know, I was like, look, we're going to church. or we're not dating. And she was like, okay, yeah. And she went, would go and then wouldn't go. And, finally just one day I was like, look, I don't think this is going to work out. And, she starts bawling. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, you're not going to church with me. You kind of, sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. I'm like, I want somebody that's going to go to church with me. And then she was all like, oh, I didn't realize it was that important to you. And so it's because, sad, it stinks, and sometimes she gives me a hard time about it, but I had to threaten to break up with her for her to realize just how important it was to me. But, because I stressed that importance, she realized how important it was to me. So that's advice I'd give to anybody who's trying to get into a relationship or is having trouble with their relationship now, to stress the things that are important to you.
Communicate, man.
Yeah, communication
Clearly
is key. And one thing my mom always kind of has said is like, choose your battles. So it's the same thing. Choose the things that are really important to you. Stick with those. Like,
because you can't do everything.
Yeah, like fitness is huge to me, but it's not something that is required for a girlfriend, wife, whatever. But it used to be. But then I realized this is not that important. We're going to get old. There's going to be a time where we're not going to be able to be fit. What's more important to me is her soul, is her mind. And so I gave up the whole, she's got to be fit. She's got to be in super great shape. Because I've dated some really beautiful women, some women that are in amazing shape, and I couldn't connect with them on a spiritual or mental level at all. And so when I finally focused on what was truly important to me, that's when I found the one.
Boom, dude. You better play this for a fiance, dude, because major points, right?
Well, yes and no. Maybe not. Because if I let her
choose your
listen
battles,
to it,
dude. Choose your battles.
If I let her listen to it, she's gonna gripe at me again about almost breaking up with her that one time.
Yeah, well, I don't even look at it like almost breaking up. I look at it as she didn't understand you, and maybe you didn't clearly communicate how important it was the first time. And maybe you thought it did in your head. But, dude, I am victim of this all the time. I think I say something, but I only think it instead of actually saying it. And I'm like, why isn't this person doing this? And I don't set my expectation or what I want. And it's just, it's dumb,
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, that was one thing we said, like, she's like, I didn't realize it. You didn't tell me. And I was like, you're right. I didn't tell you. I kind of told you, like, yeah, I go to church. Church is important. But I didn't emphasize that. I just said church is important. Okay, yeah. Who that is religious is going to say, oh, yeah, I'm religious, but church isn't important to me. Like, nobody's going to say that. So you really have to emphasize that point, because just because you say it, and you have to show it as well, but just because you say it doesn't mean that people are going to realize it. And also another point is be yourself. Fart around them. I mean, like
that's gonna be
seriously.
the clip.
No, obviously not like a first or second date, but I mean, be yourself. And this falls on the guys,
awesome,
because
dude.
as a
girls
guy,
fart too, man.
I mean, girls do fart. Don't get me wrong, but if the guy doesn't just let it happen and be the one to relax, like the girl's not gonna relax. These girls are very are very worried about that, not being feminine. And, not that farting is masculine by any means, but, you have just be yourself. And that includes the farts. Everybody does it. Everybody's got gas. So that's another point I'd bring up, is just do that.
Number one and most important thing.
Let it go.
That's going to be the clip that we promote for this episode, is just fart. That'll for sure get so many views, dude. That's awesome. Well, dude, congrats on being engaged, finding the one. And I wholeheartedly believe that you setting your foundation, your values, like your cornerstones or pillars, that's one thing I've learned too. So that's cool that you say that, of don't date someone that doesn't line up with you. Like for me, I'm a victim of hoping that it works out. Not necessarily that I will change them, right? I think that's also something that girls do. They try and change men to who they want them to become. But if you don't like that person you're meeting right now, of course you can grow into it, but the true foundation and personality and values of that person, you need to make sure those align, and then you can grow. Of course, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be problems, but if the core is strong, then you can go through stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because when two become one, there's going to be compromises. I mean, you can't get around it. You're not going to find somebody perfect, but you also don't want somebody perfect. That's the beautiful thing about love, that you want to do so much for that person. Like, my fiance, Brooke, gets hangry a lot. So now I have snacks around the house, like
different drawers.
Different drawers, yeah. And I have Dr. Pepper. There's like 6 or 7 Dr. Peppers sitting there waiting for her in the fridge, nice and cold. And I never had that stuff before, but I know that's something she needs, and also benefits me, because when she gets hangry, I'm just, here you go, here's a little snack, and she's good to go, you know. But seriously, you know, it's just compromising like that, and because for me, it's a struggle having some of those snacks, because some of those snacks are pretty good, but you know, it's like, those are hers. I try to keep them to her, but I do sneak in a snack here every once in a while.
Well, that's her compromise, dude. What about you? What's switching to yourself, like in, you know, your current relationship? What's something, like, what do you think is something that people may struggle, not necessarily struggle, but I'm going to say struggle with, or compromise, like with you? Like, what's something that, I don't know, we'll say weakness or not so much of a strength, that people are like, I love Philip, but this one thing. What's your imperfection?
Well, with my fiance, it's my being upfront and straightforward about things.
Interesting.
Especially when we go out to eat, because in the South, it's always courteous just to ask, oh, how'd you like the food? And you're supposed to say,
good,
it was good.
No matter what.
Yeah, no matter what. Well, we went to this one place, and I got barbecue chicken pizza, and it tasted like bread and barbecue, and there was no chicken, and she asked how it was, and I said it wasn't good. It tasted like barbecue and bread. I was like, there was no chicken on there, and of course I got a kick in the shin under the table a couple times.
That's funny.
And so, you know, she's trying to teach me to not be so upfront about things, and so I joked. I was just like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say now, even though she asked a yes or no question, or I guess he wants it was good or not good. I'm just saying, yeah, you know, joking with her. But besides that, I would probably say the fact that and it's like a blessing and a curse, because I'm such a go-getter, and I think about all these ideas, and I want to go after them all. I don't want to go after one or two, kind of get that going, and then start the next thing. I want to go after it all. And so I think about it, and I just do it. And so it's a blessing and a curse, because, you know, it's great because I go after it, and I don't wait for somebody to give me permission or anything. But it's also a curse because I think a lot, and I have a lot of ideas. And so sometimes I neglect the things that I first started because I found a new shiny object to go chase after.
That's good. Yeah, thanks for being honest and self-aware with that. Shoot, dude, what about, let's just not, I mean, we're not dogging on you the whole episode, of course, but what's your favorite attribute about yourself?
Favorite attribute? I honestly would probably say my smile, because I know a lot of people make comments about that, and I mean,
dude.
It's because I'm happy, you know. I'm happy to see people. I know that me smiling and being happy brings joy to other people, and that's a big goal in life for me, is to bring joy to others, and also to influence them. So, you know, I would say as far as physical attribute, it'd definitely be my smile. As far as a mental attribute, I would say the strength and resilience I have to stand up for others, because I've been there before, as we talked earlier.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in other people's shoes where they're too shy to speak up, or too shy to do something, and I can take the blow, so to say. Or, you know, being in class, teaching. You know, it's hard being a teacher, especially in Bible class and stuff. And so when I'm the student in the class, I try and, either read the scriptures that they ask to read or ask questions or make comments, because I know how hard it is to be in front of an audience. And so I feel like that's my strongest attribute, is to influence others and also participate, I guess, speak up for others as well.
That's cool. I like this smile comment, because at first I thought you were just going to say, I like my smile, like my teeth, they're great, but there's more meaning to that. It's what the smile brings and what it means to people, like the energy. And that's really cool, man. I like that, of like how you can influence people. And I posted this a while ago, but essentially to be the light, like don't wait for someone or something to bring you happiness. Like what you're doing, like be the light, dude. Like why not you be the happy thing, and go into a room and like influence people and smile. Like don't wait for anybody to do that. Why don't you just be that person?
Yeah, because the problem with waiting is that it's more than likely not going to happen.
Yeah, that's true, dude. Okay, cool. I love that. And so we've come to the segment in the show that I call Scroll My Soul. So, yeah. See, there's the smile.
Scroll my soul. I like it.
There we go, dude. And that smile. It just brought me, it just made me happy. I saw you smile. So it's called Scroll My Soul. And the reason why it's called Scroll My Soul is because after podcasts or reading books or conversations or just meditating, I write down some inspirations or thoughts. I just write, journal. And then I randomly scroll through my phone, and then I stop, and then I read what I wrote, and I believe that it's somehow meant for this conversation. And so I want you to tell me what it means to you, and just how you resonate with it. Cool?
Okay.
So what I got for you is start impressing yourself and not others. So start impressing yourself and not others. What does that mean?
So that means to worry about yourself, to improve yourself in a way, and to me that's like setting some kind of goal, and it's a goal that's going to impress you. So this is going to be more of an internal thing instead of external. Yeah, you could impress yourself by getting a Lamborghini, but you're also impressing other people. So in order to impress yourself and to other people, it has to be some kind of mental breakthrough. And for me, that would be, man, I'm trying to think of exactly what that would be for me. It'd probably just be more confidence in myself. I mean, people think I'm confident, but I oftentimes do get shy about, speaking up more for myself. I mean, I'll speak up for others way more than I'll speak up for myself. So having that internal confidence in myself and in my ability is oftentimes I do struggle with that, especially like with my new job. I struggle with that because I'm like, man, I don't know enough. I'm afraid to go do it. And I've noticed like 9 times out of 10 when I do just have that, I guess, ghost confidence in myself and I just go after it, even though I'm like, I really have no idea what I'm doing, I end up doing way better than when I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'll try this. So just having more confidence in myself is going to bring on more good things in my life.
Okay, cool, dude. Yeah, and I think like impress yourself. Don't worry about other people, because one, people could lie. They're not going to tell you what they think all the time. Like you're with yourself 24/7. Like we're in our heads all the time. And so really you should be someone that you want to be with, impress yourself. Like when you're saying you're, shy or whatever, then you speak up, you impress yourself. You did it for you. You didn't do it because, of course, it feeds your ego when other people say like, hey, Philip, like you're awesome. Thanks for sticking up for me or something like that.
Yeah.
But really it's the fact that you took that step in fear. So that's cool, man. All right, dude. Well, thanks for being on the show. Do you have any last tips or advice for the peeps out there?
Just take action. Whatever it is you're wanting to do, just go for it. Nothing's holding you back but yourself.
Okay, dude. And I think that's simple and easy advice. But what is like we thought this show was over, but no, I'm going to ask one more question.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, you thought this was going to be an easy thing, dude, but we're going deep here. So, like, what's one thing that you took action on? Because I think it's so easy for us just to say, take action. But really, like, what does that mean? Like, and so other people can grasp that. Like, what does take action for you mean, and how have you seen its benefit?
Take action to me means doing something that I may not know and just figuring it out as I go. I'll give you a couple examples. A couple months ago, started a podcast. A couple months ago, went from electrical engineering to commercial real estate sales. Getting a fiance, it
perfect.
Nobody, no man or woman knows what a woman's thinking. And I just took action on myself more than on her to figure out what I needed to do to be the right person for her.
Well, and you didn't wait for anyone. You didn't wait for an opportunity. It goes back to the story of Hudson about, like, go talk to him.
Yeah.
You started a podcast. You just do it. You just take the step. You take the action.
Yeah. Well, just like us meeting, you took that action to reach out to me, and because of that we met for a very manly breakfast, and then now we're here. Second time we're meeting, we talk in between then, but second time meeting, and here we are doing a podcast together. It's all about just taking that action, and that's I met several other people that way too over the past couple of months, because I just reached out, and it may not have been like on one initial reach out. With us, it was, some people aren't quite that open. It just takes a little bit, but like I was on Ted Faden's podcast as well, and that was one thing I did with him, but I kept kind of planting the seed out there, so to say, not like, hey, we should get together sometime. Oh, hey, look, have you ever thought about getting together? No, it was just like kind of just talking with him, having a conversation, and then something kind of came up, and I just said, let's do a podcast together. And then he's like, okay, yeah. But because I took that action to ask him, it happened. So without action, nothing will happen.
Boom. I love it, dude. That's a perfect way to end it. Thank you, sir. For real. I appreciate you coming out. Thank you. It's been awesome meeting you. Only the second time, but I assume
we'll be hanging out more. I love the conversations we have so far. And,
okay, good.
And I'm honored to be on this show. It's been really awesome.
Okay, thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Adios. Alrighty, y'all. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Philip, and make sure to check out his podcast. It's called Healthy Living Sessions by Philip Sessions. So make sure you go check that out. I appreciate him stopping by. This week's challenge is inspired by Robin Sharma and his new book, The 5 a.m. Club, which, Philip also has inspired me because he wakes up by 4:30 at the latest. So this week's challenge is inspired by the 5 a.m. Club. Wake up at or before 5 a.m. just 2 times this week. That's all we're asking, is to wake up by 5 a.m. 2 times. You can meditate, journal, read, yoga, hit the gym, work on a project, email, a mix of those things, none of those things. We don't care what you do right now. The goal is to get up by 5 a.m. So let's do it, and make sure you tag us in your stories when you do this. So once you wake up by 5 a.m., for me, my alarm, if I use an alarm is set for 5:05, I'm going to set it at 4:59 because I got to get my butt up. So there are a few ways you can report back once you complete the challenge. So twice this week, make sure you report back to us. You can post on Facebook or Instagram using hashtag Goalink Challenge. Tag us in your stories. So just tag at Goalink Group on your Instagram stories, or use the Goalink hotline. To use the hotline, call 385-626-0525 and follow the instructions. Follow us at Goalink Group on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. My name is Ben. I love you. This is the Goalink Show. Let's wake up before 5 a.m. this week and get after it. Yeah.